Anxiety. Anxiety is made up of three main parts, really. There's anxious feelings, so what's going on in your body. There's anxious thoughts, things that go around in your mind, and anxious behaviours. So an example of that would be, imagine you were getting ready for an exam or had some homework to do and you hadn't handed it in. The feelings you might have going around your body might be a slightly sick feeling, feeling slightly shaky, feeling like your legs were turning to jelly. The thoughts that might be going around your mind would be something along the lines of, I don't want to go in, this is going to go awfully, I'm going to get told off, I'll get in trouble. And the behaviours might be to dawdle getting ready or avoid going in entirely, perhaps. And there's a whole load of different anxiety symptoms that all go together, really. Everything from getting shaky, feeling sick, like you're going to vomit, having your heart racing, sweating, finding your breathing is fast or shallow, getting a really dry mouth, feeling dizzy. There's also a number of characteristic thoughts that can go with anxiety, so worrying about things that might happen in the future, lots of what-if type thinking, or going over things that have happened in the past. Oh no, I should have done this, I should have done that. Oh, that was awful, that was a disaster. So lots of really negative thinking. And then the main behaviour that goes along with anxiety is avoiding things or trying to get out of situations as quickly as possible. Now, we all experience anxiety, everybody does, and from birth all the way through our lives and until we die, really. And it's pretty common. So around 25% of teenagers, for example, will experience quite significant levels of anxiety during their teenage years. And we're actually programmed to get anxious about things, just like every other animal is. And there are certain things which we're programmed to get anxious about more than others. So things like things that make loud noises or sudden movements and so on. One of the problems is that the things that we tend to get anxious about now in our modern lives don't tend to match up with the things that we're programmed to get anxious about. Those symptoms, the anxiety symptoms, are what's commonly termed the fight-flight response. So that's your body getting ready to run away or have a fight. And the problem is, going back to our example of getting anxious because you haven't done your homework, having a fight or running away is not going to solve that problem. And so we end up with a bit of a mismatch of what our bodies are programmed to do and the world that we live in. And the types of anxiety vary across our lives, from little babies, which tend to be scared of things like loud noises or people they don't know, through to being separated from a caregiver. So a baby that's a little bit older will not want to leave its mother or father quite often. Animals and objects. So you quite often see in children who are 5-ish or so years and upwards, fears of particular objects or situations like dogs or snakes or the dark. A bit later on you'll see anxieties about performing badly in tests or in sports, being judged negatively by other people, so being thought of badly or being embarrassed in front of other people, or worrying excessively, just worrying about everything that might be going on in the world. And you can tell if anxiety is a problem if the anxiety gets to the point where it's either really interfering in your ability just to enjoy life, or where it's coming up in situations where you don't really need to be anxious about it. Now, avoidance can clearly be a problem, especially for children, because the way that we learn about the world and the way that we develop depends on us exploring and trying new things. And as a child, if you're not doing that very much because you're avoiding things, it's going to hinder your development. But worry is also a big problem because it spoils the experience that you're having. The good thing, though, about anxiety is that the symptoms that you feel are not actually physically dangerous. So people don't die of fright. Anxiety is really horrible and unpleasant, but the good thing about it is it doesn't harm you. And that's something that we use when we're actually looking to try and help people with anxiety. Now, some anxieties are really persistent. They go on for years and years because people get caught in a trap of avoidant behaviour, and negative thinking that goes round and round and stops them from managing to get out of the anxiety. But a lot of anxieties that we have actually end. So many of us can think of things that we were anxious about when we were children that we're not anxious about anymore. I used to be very anxious about, I can remember never being willing to go and ask for an ice cream and buy it, and my mum would always have to go and ask for me. But luckily now, being 43, I can ask for my own ice cream when I go out. There's 3 key parts to helping with anxiety, just like there's 3 key parts to what the anxiety actually is, and they mirror them. So the first is calming the body. Because you get lots of those symptoms of anxiety, if you can learn ways of calming your body down and getting it to just relax somewhat, it will tend to make you feel slightly better. The next part is realistic thinking. Because anxiety is characterised by thinking the worst, imagining terrible situations, going over and over things that have happened in the past and concentrating on the worst parts of it, if you can get into more realistic thinking, then you'll tend to feel less anxious. And then the third part is taking part. So because anxiety is characterised by being avoidant and wanting to get out of situations, the more you can do to actually take part in life, the more that your anxiety will go down. And in that one in particular, we normally say it's quite important to do that gradually, because if you try and do it all at once, then you tend to find that it just ends up being too much and it triggers off avoiding again. Do come in and have a seat. Okay. If you're a parent of an anxious child, then one of the things that you can do is be helping your child to actually develop those 3 areas. So you can help teach your child ways of calming their body down and relaxing. You can help by finding out what your child is actually thinking about and worrying about, but just asking them and listening to what they've got to say. And then if you notice that some of that thinking is unrealistic, seeing if you can help them come up with better, more realistic ways of looking at things. And then the third part you can help with as a parent is helping your child take part in things by gently encouraging them to do a bit more and a bit more and a bit more until they're taking part in lots of things in life. The good thing about actually tackling an anxiety problem is that if you do it gradually and you do it right, it will help somebody build up confidence, not just with that anxiety, but actually to build up confidence generally. And then when the next problem comes along in life, that person's actually better able to deal with that as well, because they've built up a sense that actually I can do things, I can try things, I can think about this realistically, and if I get into problems I can calm my body down and keep going. So where can you go to get help? Well, the first port of call quite often for a lot of people will be school nurse or health visitor, if you've got a relationship with them, or your own family doctor, and they're good people to contact because they know about how to assess anxiety. They can give good straightforward advice, and they can help work out whether it's useful to actually refer you on for more specialist help. And if they were to refer you on for more specialist help, if it's a child who's anxious, they'd come to us in the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service. If it's somebody over the age of 18, they'd be referred to the Adult Mental Health Service. In our Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service, we've got psychologists, psychological wellbeing practitioners, mental health nurses, psychiatrists, a social worker, a whole range of professionals who've all been trained to a greater or lesser extent to deal with anxiety and worry. And on the adult side, our colleagues have got a similar range of professionals there. But the other good source of advice is to actually look for what's available either online or in book form. And there are a couple of good websites I could recommend. So the Mind website is a really good one. The NHS website has got some really good information about mental health generally, but also about anxiety. And in terms of books, the one that we normally recommend for people, because it's based on really sound principles, is this one, which is called Overcoming Your Child's Fears and Worries. And that's aimed at parents of anxious children, so it helps take you through both what anxiety is and how you can manage to overcome it.